going back to the creation of Regenerative Ryan, aka Regen Ryan. So the pandemic started early 2020, and I immediately went inward by reading Becoming Supernatural, the book by Joe Dispenza. And that really set me down a deep inner learning and really spiritual journey of letting go of a lot of trauma. And so if you look at, my first album in 2022 called Healthy Soil is the Solution, it all started from Kiss the Ground, which is a nonprofit that I did a soil advocate course back in summer of 2019. And that was magnificent, very inspiring, seeing all these regenerative projects across the entire globe. And part of that course was to do a presentation at the end. And I did the presentation, and then I was inspired to join Toastmasters, which is a international public speaking and leadership training organization. And after joining that, I started making videos talking about my journey of finding my health, because I was really sick about 12 years ago. I was having really sharp chest pains, and it got up to about 15 per day. And so I switched to a whole foods, local diet, some organic and regenerative foods at the beginning. But eventually, after 4 or 5 years, I really started full 100% regenerative, local, and organic foods. And that just really sped up the natural self-healing ability of my body. And so, fast forward from 12 years ago, I finally got healed and started doing my public speaking to teach people about glyphosate, pesticides, all this, toxicity that's in our food. And it was that journey that brought the music out. And so Regenerative Ryan, the name, was born from my Toastmasters public speaking. That was 4 years ago in Chicago, about 5 years ago. And so the first album, Healthy Soil is the Solution, was taking my PowerPoint presentations, which I still have up on my YouTube, taking those PowerPoints and taking all that research and putting it into hip-hop music. So that's the genesis of Regen Ryan. My entire work has came from me on the brink of death, finding local regenerative and organic food, researching it a bunch, doing a lot of meditation, yoga, and reading, then doing public speaking for 4 years, PowerPoint presentations. Eventually I was like, well, people don't like to sit down and watch PowerPoint presentations. So I started making some fun music, infusing all of that research into the music. So Healthy Soil is the Solution, back in 2022, is the first album that I released with a lot of that research and a lot of fun too. And so it was about that time I was actually getting a divorce as well. And so in April of 2022 is when we officially made the decision to separate. Literally the day after, I was walking around listening to my sister-in-law's beat that she had in her archives, and Make America Great Again, the lyrics just started rolling through as I'm walking. And so the big teaching for me was I had to make that leap. I had to separate. It was a 7-year relationship. It was really beautiful. God bless her. But we were on different paths. And, I was given this alternate path that was for my highest timeline. I, tried to pull her along a lot of the ways, but eventually I realized I just got to let her do her thing. She has her own path, her own soul contract. We all have soul contracts. We can't judge each other for our soul contract. I appreciate it, Aza. If you have any questions, holler at me and I can answer them. But I'm just going through the genesis of Regenerative Ryan, Regen Ryan. And so that April 2022 is the first, really song about, soil regeneration was Make America Great Again. Actually, late 2020, I did an ayahuasca journey. And that really sparked my music again, because I used to make hip hop back in high school, and got sick, and then just kind of gave it up for a little bit as I was trying to just survive. And so ayahuasca really reignited that creativity and unearthed the subconscious trauma, that then I was able to fuse into my music and heal through my music. And so that's a big part of my music as well. And so Healthy Soil is the solution, is the first album, and really takes you through a journey of teaching you about carbon sequestration, holistically grazing animals to help regenerate the soil, the land, all the pollinators, really the air, the water cycle, the entire environment. That's what was so amazing about regenerative farming when I first found out about it 5, 6 years ago. It's a win-win situation for everybody. Like if you just you yourself buy local regenerative food as much as possible, then you're helping out, the soils, the bugs, the animals, the plants, the air, the water, just everything benefits from that one purchase you make today from your local farm. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's something that you can really get behind because it's good for everybody. And so Healthy Soil is the solution. I take you through Make America Graze Again is the first song I like to do on my live sets. It's kind of like a Weird Al Yankovic vibe, really chill. I'm talking about farming. It's fun, making people laugh. And then I usually move into Pesticides, which is a little into the shadow, but still kind of fun. It's a really emphatic song, and it has some good education in there as well about organic pesticides, because you have organic pesticides like rotenone that was used all the way up till 2016 or no 2019, until they finally removed it in Europe. In the UK they've removed rotenone in like 2009, but we used it for a long time after that, and it also caused cancer and different types of illnesses, and they were able to finally remove that from the market. And so the distinction here is it local farms that have organic, or is it an organic monoculture farm that you're getting from like usually Mexico, California, Florida, these huge monocultures where they have the organic certification, but it's one crop, no diversity, so the soil's not healthy, and they're just pumping out, product. And so if the soil's not healthy, then no nutrients can get to the plant because there's no microbes in there. The microbes are the ones that carry the nutrients to the plant. So it's a symbiotic relationship between the microbiome and the plants. And so that's a really beautiful song to help educate people on that, because you can buy organic from, say, Whole Foods, like I said, these monoculture farms, and it is a lesser of evils, but you just got to know that it's not the best of the best. Like you always want for your family to buy from local farms as much as possible. And so then we can move into a really funny song, I Like It Raw, from the Healthy Soils The Solution album. It gets sexual innuendo. I do that one live. It's hilarious. The first time I did an open mic for I Like It Raw was in Chicago, in Logan Square, if anybody lives in Chicago. And it was hilarious. It was a packed crowd, 30 plus people, and everybody else went first. It was a lot of like underground hip hop, a lot of black folks, and then I went up, the only white dude in there at the very end, and they're kind of laughing, as I'm going up there, and that the I Like It Raw comes on, and it's got the sexual innuendo, and I remember right as it came on, this guy up front, he's like, "Oh yeah, it raw too," and I'm just laughing and going into it, and it was the most expressive and fun crowd that I've ever had to this day for that song in particular, I Like It Raw. And that really just sparked my journey, that one open mic, about 4.5 years, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that. But anyways, after the song got going, by the end of it, everybody was up in an uproar, and it was a blast. So I like it raw. Is really fun teaching you about raw milk, because lactose intolerance is a total human made thing through ultra pasteurization. And so the natural enzymes and bacteria in raw milk allow you to digest the lactose. So that's one of the main things I wanted to promote there, and I like it raw. But also other raw vegetables, raw fruits. A raw diet is good to implement. Not 100%. I mean, you can do it for a little bit, but the main thing was the raw milk has been a big part of my healing journey as well, to really regenerate that microbiome, a diversity, because there's over 700 different species of microbiome in raw milk. And make sure you get A2 if you can. Do a little bit of research. You have to be genetically A2. Um, and uh, and then one living system. And so a big part of my courage to get a divorce was our nonprofit, the One Living System, that started to originate around that time. And so, it was 2021 to 2022. And that was really the first group that we studied this indigenous philosophy that is the One Living System. And there's a book that was written by Carrie Taylor, my mentor and friend, called The One Living System, an exploration of life's sacred language in our collective journey. And so that's a really beautiful book to really understand where we're moving towards as a consciousness. Our one consciousness, our collective consciousness. We're all coming together, and that's why you see so much separation at this time, so much division, because you have to get to that point in order to break down the old systems. And what One Living System and our nonprofit is doing is creating the parallel system that we are going to fall into and be in unison with Mother Earth and all of life, just like indigenous people have been for millions of years before modern and Western civilization came in. And so, yeah, that stay tuned for more in 2026. We're going to be kicking off a lot more programs for One Living System. But now we move into 2023. Was my next album, The Dark Night of My Soil. And so this is a deep excavation of my subconscious for this. And I throw in some fun songs in there as well, shining a light on the shadow of my childhood trauma all the way back into the womb. And so one of the first songs, Prenatal Stress, the first full song besides the intro, which is Greeting Eternal Soul, or Greetings Eternal Soul. The second song, Prenatal Stress, talks about being in that womb. Every single emotion in trauma and anger and sadness that our mom and dad are feeling, we're feeling in the womb. And so that's where it all begins. The entire personality is created in the womb. That was a recent research that I read. Just think about the entire personality of you and your baby or future baby is created in the womb. And so I have a music video, on my library about prenatal stress. But that was a really powerful journey for me when I was doing some energy work called Body Talk, where they listened into my cells, my body, for trauma that I was storing. And I went in this meditation. It was like a 40 minute energy work. And I was closing my eyes. I was meditating like I was the fetus again in my mom's womb. And he had me, deep in this meditation, talking about all the different processes that are going on in my mom's body. And then eventually he gets around to my dad. And he says, fuck you and that baby. And I just started bursting out crying during this energy work session, crying and crying and crying. We wrapped it up. As soon as I got off, I just started writing. And I was writing for a week. deleting and editing, singing, crying some more, and that's how the prenatal stress song came about. Was that womb trauma, and so that's a powerful release. And I sang that at open mics, and I just sang it and sang it, and I cried every time, and I just kept crying and singing it until eventually I just stopped crying. And so that was a really powerful journey with the dark night of my soil. And actually, a couple months before that is when I wrote and performed Divorced. So if you've ever been divorced, that's a real powerful song and music video that I did. I did it live for Aubrey Marcus's coaching program, Fit for Service, which is really powerful. They just closed it down, at least in-person ones, but they still do virtual. But I did, it was about 250 people, live performance. And a lot of these folks, were getting divorced or thinking about getting divorced, just feeling, really, really bad. And I work with you, Dad. Adrian Rivers. I don't know what you're saying, but, and yeah, this Fit for Service retreat, I never received such a standing ovation from the 250 plus crowd when I sang my song Divorce from the Dark Night of My Soil live there, because they just struck a chord, because everybody there was going through relationship problems, and it's very vulnerable, and it helped me really push through that with empowering lyrics on the back end to really heal and move through that. And so that was really, really beautiful. That was a beautiful journey. And so as you traverse through the dark night of my soil, there's the ego death song, Compost, where I mix in some of the regenerating the soil with the soul. Really fun song, a lot of humor mixed in there. Raped, obviously, you guys seen my recent reel on that. So that was 2.5 years ago when I released that and started uncovering that from my journey. And I just did a short on that recently, so I won't go through that. But to follow up with that, the Dark Night of My Soil, Sex Magic is a really powerful song for me that actually helped release that trauma from the rape in my childhood. And so channeling your sexual energy up to your pineal gland and praying for healing. That's what I did. I did a 6-week semen retention, channeled it up, kept praying for healing, uncovered that trauma. So I really wanted to give people conscious awareness around sex magic and sacred sexuality practices. If they're in alignment with the highest good of all, they can be really powerful. And so the next song on the list, I'm just kind of going through my discography and telling the backstories here. Fuck the 5G. I'm also an advanced student of biogeometry, which is using sacred geometry in practical ways to harmonize your body, your home, your car, any type of environment. And there's different types of attachments and tools and shapes and colors and different ways you can manipulate your environment to help bring more God source energy, this BG3 centering energy in. And so I do that by donation. I do a lot of homes up here in Minnesota where I'll balance the entire home, and it's good for harmonizing EMFs too, so electromagnetic radiation. And so that was a fun song that helped promote biogeometry by, the fun hook of Fuck the 5G. We got biogeometry. So that was a fun one. Don't Hate, Regenerate. I got a music video on that. That's some of my fans, favorite songs. I would say, that really goes into vitamin D. It goes into, healthy food, healthy living. Really jumps on the subject of sunscreens. Most of those sunscreens out there, really toxic chemicals, really bad for you. If you just balance out your omega-3 to omega-6, then your body's able to properly, absorb the vitamin D and all the, different sun rays, and really protects you. So get more omega-3s, because a lot of people's diet is high omega-6, low omega-3, because of the industrial seed oils like sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, all this stuff that's in fast food and even healthy restaurants. They use these industrial seed oils. So getting those out, and then making sure to eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef, different types of pastured meats, helps with more omega-3s. Really fun way to amplify your cognitive capacity, and overall just better health. So Sacred is working into some of the indigenous philosophy of the one living system, and that's a fun song. And then Suicidal Farmers was a fun one. I made a music video for that. You know, another one of those revealing the shadow songs, because it's scary how many farmers are suicidal. I think it's something out 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It's lonely out there. I've farmed a lot the last 5 years, and you're out there working long, hard days in the sun or in the cold, wherever you're at, and a lot of them are pretty lonely. So if you can get to a local farmer, tell them thanks, give them a hug, shake their hand, it's a huge benefit, not only to your physical health, but spiritual health, emotional health, and the farmer's health as well. They feel seen. And then I rounded off with Biodiverse, a fun, kind of a kid's jingle type song that got micro viral on my Instagram. There was a cannabis grower that really loved it, and influencer that sent it out. So yeah, that was 2023, the dark night of my soil. And then I moved to Minnesota for a job at a regenerative farm that didn't work out. And the next song that I made after that is I Am Nature, which is really fun. I had a deep divine embodiment of the sacred feminine, and really explored different types of divine feminine spirits, like Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and Goddess Hathor and all these different goddesses. And that's what kind of brought me to my next album during that time in 2024, which is Let Go and Let Goddess. Because as a survivor of rape, I really always wanted to control. That's a common thing of survivors. You just want to control everything in your life because you didn't have control in those very vulnerable moments as a kid. And so it was a deep learning for me to just let go and let Goddess, let the divine feminine, the heart lead instead of the ego, which is exactly what we need, across all of the globe. And that's what indigenous people do so well. They lead from the heart in unison with Mother Earth and all of life. And so Let Go and Let Goddess was an absolutely transformational self-healing journey. That song, the Let Go and Let Goddess song, I Am Nature song, internal family systems, which is one of the best therapies you can do. Highly recommend looking into that if you haven't heard of it. It's also known as parts work. It was a real powerful journey for me, so that's why I wanted to promote that, internal family systems. And then I Love You is a I Love You song to myself that I sang in the mirror for 7 hours straight, and that was the most powerful healing experience in my life. It was a moment in time where I would actually put my hair up a lot more. I really wasn't as comfortable with my hair down. And I remember putting it down, and it was like summer. It was April 2024. And I was singing I Love You in the mirror, and I could just see like Goddess in myself. And it was like I was singing the me, I was singing the Goddess, I was sending so much love. And I just kept singing it over and over. So powerful. And then that led into Walking Each Other Home, the next song on that album that I also sang in the mirror. And that's what actually manifested my um, sacred union with Goddess Queen Black Diamond, which you've seen two songs now, and then we got another song coming out here in a few weeks and more to come. And and then the last song on Let Go and Let God, Ascend Dance, is a really fun one. Um, uh, Kind of a play on ascension, but for me, my journey, the ascension process is it's an inner marriage of your inner divine feminine and masculine. And so being able to lead with the heart, but also coming in with that masculine ego when it's needed, and find this balance. That's what we're doing on Earth right now. And really, the eagle and condor prophecy that indigenous folks, gave us, to really channel from the Pleiadians, different star nations during the ayahuasca journeys, tells of that same thing that's happening now as everybody's starting to really find that inner marriage of their divine feminine and masculine. And for me, that is the ascend dance, is feeling into that heart and that head balance. And so I go into some star systems and different, fun ETs, mythology there, or however you want to call it. But that was a blast to make. And then it moves into 2025 this year. So at the beginning of the year, Yeshua, 444 hertz, started getting into really tuning in my songs to exact frequencies. And that song, I haven't listened to any song more than that. I mean, I listened to I Love You a lot because that was such a powerful self-healing, but Yeshua really helped anchor our sacred union, Diamond and I, and helped me really start to anchor the, Christos Sophia codes. I just listened to that over and over and over, and it just brought so much harmony to me. And so that's what that one's all about. Really, all three of us walking each other home. My, goddess, Diamond, Yeshua, aka Jesus, and me. It could also be seen as the divine goddess, Yeshua, in me. But that was a powerful switch in my journey because there's a little bit of vocalization and singing in there and less rapping. And that's what I'm kind of being led towards right now. I've been doing a lot of song circles and stuff, and Diamond's been helping me a lot with the vocalization piece. She's done it so well and really has taught herself over the years and taught herself to play guitar. She's a really great guitarist. Looking forward to seeing her show off her skills there in the future. And then we got into a Christian mystics group, when we started our relationship over a year ago or so. And that's kind of how, I started getting deep in this resonance with Yeshua. And so that led to Holy Water, which you probably have heard by now. Me, Diamond, and Troy the Baker, one of our other friends in this Christian mystics group. So that's been a lot of fun. And that brings us up to the latest release, Stars Call My Name. And so that was actually a song I made November of 2024. Miles Optimistic is a great musician. Go check him out. He helped really do the mixing and mastering. All of that. He did all the mixing and mastering. And that was a fun experience. Me and Troy did all the lyrics, but it was so impromptu. We're just like, oh, let's get together and see what comes up. And that song busted out. And here we are. So that gives you kind of a background on my journey. And, going forward, I just released a new press kit. Check out my website, regenryan.com. To check out that press kit. And if you have any leads where you have farms or different types of festivals that's in the food and music, super excited to travel. And I'm in, like I said, Minnesota now, Minneapolis. The Midwest is real easy. I'm constantly driving to Ohio to see my family, and Indiana and Chicago. Those are some hot spots. Obviously, Milwaukee's coming right through there. But really, anywhere in the Midwest and the entire globe, if the money's right. So, thank you so much for listening. Look out for "I Can Love You." That's coming out here in a few weeks. I got a sneak peek on a short that I released just recently. That's about a minute or so of the first verse. And then Organic Ascension will be coming out in the future. I Am Ak, Baby Moon. These are all songs that I've been making in the last few months. And 2026, we will be launching some more programs, like I mentioned, for One Living System, which is a deep embodiment of that indigenous philosophy to really question every action and whether it's for the benefit of all life. And so that's all we're really trying to do here, to come into right relationship with Mother Earth. So I love you. I see you. Thank you. I am you. God bless you. Goddess bless America. In Yeshua we trust. Amen.